lies. You are listening to the John H. Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I am your host, John H. Happy to be back with you once again in the not so wee hours. We're still wee houring on the precipice. We're sitting at 11:47 Eastern Standard Time, and I will be taking you into my favorite time, the dark side of the AM. I'll be taking you to about 12:35-ish Eastern Standard Time. Hailing proudly from the coastal plains of the Old North State, I will be your tour guide as we take a somewhat satirical journey down the path of murder, destruction, mayhem, and the extermination of human life on this planet. A forced march into obsolescence thrust upon us by a global satanic death cult of pedophiles. Please check out anomicage.com. If you've not already done so, please like all the likes, subscribe to all the subscriptions. PayPal.me/anomicage, Patreon.com/anomicage as well. Those are the best ways you can find everything me, support me, and so much more. Cash App, Patreon link, buy me a cup of coffee, Lightning link if you're into Satoshis. Pardon me. You can send me those too, right there at anomicage.com. So happy for you all to be joining me here as I take you into the dark side of the AM. So I can't really stress that enough. Thanks so much for joining me here. I love having our sort of bi-weekly conversation here, hitting you up on the Tuesdays and Thursdays in the dark side, as many of you are perhaps sleeping. Nay. We'll keep the lights on for you here in the dark side of the AM. So much to get into this evening. In case you missed it, title of tonight's show, yep, looks a little like that. Exactly like that, actually. Title of tonight's episode, we're hitting it at Information Breakdown Segment 495. Can't believe we got 495 in the Information Breakdown magazine. Excuse me. I was doing fine until I started talking, and then I get in this post-nasal drip thing just in time for the holidays. Shan't it be gay? Anyway, that's what we got going on tonight, folks. We're going to hit it up with 495. America's new Tammy, Faye, Bakker. Oh, yeah. And before I even start discussing this, folks, because I know I'm going to probably ruffle the blue blood Republican feathers, and that ain't not my real intention anyway. This ain't clickbait. This isn't just for likes or hits or whatever. This ain't to draw the ire of the masses as I dare to approach the podium and ask questions. You know, as I've mentioned many times on this show, used to be a bumper sticker I saw quite often as an adolescent. It said, question authority. And I swear to you folks, I think those bumper stickers are gone for a reason, because I think the American public and I guess the global citizenry at large just doesn't question much of anything. I mean, that's very self-evident by what we go through, like 2.5 years of the COVID hoax. We had, and I gotta say, man, I saw some Nimrod out there today, in the coastal plain of the Old North State. It was darn near 70 degrees, sunny, no clouds in the sky. I take that back. There were some chemtrails in the sky. But anyway, I saw some Nimrod today repping her mask as she walked from one place to the other. And I just, there's no hope. No hope here. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you that. There's not. But anyway, to my point, there's no one really willing to question authority anymore. or question the narrative anymore or question darn near anything anymore. It's really just sad, but it's emblematic of our American society. It speaks and absolutely smacks of the unmitigated weakness, the lack of testicular fortitude, the lack of masculinity, just the lack of anything even remotely sentient, where the vast majority of the public will just eat up the pablum no matter what it is and say, thank you, sir, may I have another? Could you take some more rights, please? Could you somehow railroad us into another war, please? Could you somehow tax us to death, please? Could you somehow just raise the prices of everything a little bit more, please? Can we possibly sign up for that 50-year mortgage, please? I mean, I swear, folks, it's darn near comical. I mean, that's why, slightly satirical, it has to be. You can't cover the stuff that's going on in our current society without a healthy dose, without a healthy dose of sarcasm, of levity, of just, I mean, what can you say? Really, folks, what can you really say? Anyway, I say all that to say this. I was not coming out here to besmirch whatever you want to say, Charlie Kirk's wife, Erika Kirk, on her birthday even. I didn't even plan it that way, but a lot of synchronicities, I suppose. But that was never my intention, folks. I am here to question the answers. I have always been here and will always, as long as I'm here, have no sacred cows in my barn. Okay, so I'm not for the right. I'm not for the left. I will question authority any way it comes down the pike. And I will always do that. I don't care what side of the proverbial aisle it's on. If there's some B to the S to be seen, you can bet your bottom dollar I will reveal it as best I can. I mean, the tagline of this show is not propagating truth in a world of lies for nothing, because most people are just too happy to lap up the world of lies, and I'm going, hey, not so fast. That sounds an awful lot like Bravo Sierra to me. So, this evening we'll get into that. We'll get into the new Tammy Faye Bakker, and we'll definitely get into the just incessant humiliation rituals that seem to be ever present in America. We'll cover a lot of that, and I'll kind of give you my take on the whole thing. And we'll run it up the flagpole, see who salutes it, or we'll throw it all against the wall and see what comes out. You know what I mean? So that's what we'll do this evening. I realize there's a lot of sacred cow people out there that are just never going to in any way see anything fishy about this. But I look at the entire Charlie Kirk assassination very much like I looked at the 9/11 false flag. However, the hindsight is 20/20, and fool me once, okay, bad on me, but fool me twice, hey, no, not a chance. So, unlike the 9/11 false flag, when I saw the 9/11 false flag, I was much younger, much shorter in the tooth, and I saw that whole rigmarole. And at first glance, I took it at face value. And I thought, oh, my goodness, rent garments, gnash teeth, bite the keychain. and I took that false flag for what it was. And it was a false flag. But I didn't realize it at the time. I was buying into the narrative. I was buying into the bombastic BS barrage of all those Nimrodic idiots on the right saying, now we've got to go to war again. And I wasn't hip to the PNAC document. I wasn't hip to, we need a new Pearl Harbor to galvanize the public to go into I believe 7+ countries in the Middle East and just wreak havoc. Or oh, I forgot, spread peace, love, and understanding, freedom fries and all that jazz, right? Oh no, they weren't waging war on third world bleepos. They were humanitarian efforts. They were spreading liberty, peace, democracy, the American way, right? Goodness gracious. The sad thing is people still buy into that horse manure, right? So, again, at first glance, I bought into the lies, folks. I can even recall my stupid self saying, we've got to carpet bomb these people. Oh, my goodness. You know, and I remember the baloney-filled narratives of the day as whatever news reporter was talking about the jet fuel just cascading down the 100+ or whatever it is, levels of the World Trade Centers. And in my own mind's eye, I was picturing this cascading fuel coming out of the elevator shafts, a la The Shining or something. I was really in my mind's eye picturing that. But then again, you know, within a few months, I began to come to my grips and senses and go, what the heck? And it's stupid. What the, you know? And then the more you look at it, the worse it looks. The more you look at it, the more you see, oh, wow, you know, the British broadcasting was saying World Trade 7 was down when it wasn't, and they had a convenient cut to something else before we have to show that we were a bunch of fools. And no one wants to talk about the Jews that were doing the little dance and that they were very much 110% involved in that. Can't talk about that. And no one wants to talk about the joke level of the Shanksville, and no one wants to talk about how the plane wouldn't even fit in that configuration to hit the Pentagon. I mean, so much baloney that many of us took at face value at that point in time. So I say all that to say this. When I looked at the Charlie Kirk assassination, you know, I took it all in before I really gave my 2 cents on much of any of it. But much like 9/11, the more you looked at it, the worse the whole blame thing looked, folks. I've covered this on at least 3 different shows, so I'm not going to go through all the inaccuracies, all the complete tomfoolery. I mean, we could do like a 3-day mini-series on all the inaccuracies and just complete baloney that you were fed going along with the Charlie Kirk assassination. If that's what it was. You know, I'm at the point, folks, where you just can't trust it. You just can't trust nothing. To paraphrase Public Enemy, Chuck D and Flavor Flav, can't trust it. Sorry, folks, you just can't trust it. So I'm not sold on this fact that this gentleman is deceased. I'm not sold on the fact that who was this boob alleged shooter of old Charlie Kirk? I always forget these boobs' name. Tyler Robinson. I'm not even sold on the fact that Tyler Robinson is a living individual and not just an AI creation. I mean, look back on some of the previous shows. I've covered ad nauseum all these points. I mean, we got the disappearing chair. We got Tyler Robinson seemingly always seen with the exact same shirt, pants, and hat on in like the exact same way. And we're looking at like 4 different images and it's the same old song. And I'm like, is this guy always in uniform? It doesn't look like uniforms. He just not have other clothing? I mean, what the? Stinks to high heaven, the involvement of the dad and the preacher and the cop or whatever. I don't even know what to believe anymore, folks. And I don't think anyone does. No one does. I'm sorry. No one knows what to believe with the whole Tyler Robinson sham. It's much like the, was it the Aurora shooting where you had some fruit bat and then he just disappears and then there's a trial, but he's only on an online trial or some just moronic idiocy is really what it all boils down to. But the real moronic idiocy is that the general public is buying it and lapping it up. So, and what's the other one? I found this completely ironic. What was this Nimrod number 2? Thomas Matthew Crooks. This is the guy that allegedly, and this looks as phony as a $3 bill. Thomas Crooks is the alleged shooter that shot at President Trump and it didn't hit him, but it grazed his ear. I don't know how. It must have been like the most microscopic graze you've ever seen, because we've all seen the footage and we've all seen like the alleged gunshot to the ear. And then like a week later, he's got nothing. Not a scab, not a scar, not a flipping Band-Aid. And then you had all the cult members like the week after that, this is what I knew, like the cult members had fully embraced jumping the shark. Like the Trump cult members had fully embraced the Heaven's Gate cult. They were full bore Jim Jones time, because this was like the most comedic thing I have seen. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of this rapper that did this BS. Oh man. Oh my goodness. I can't think of this guy's name. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to look this up because I'm going to get ticked off. Oh my goodness. Nelly, that's it. I didn't want to forget you, Nelly. Air Force Ones. Yeah. Nelly used to wear a Band-Aid on his face for one of his homies that was serving time in prison. And that was just silly. But then on the cultish side of things, the Trump cult members, you saw countless people wearing a Band-Aid on their ear and like some sort of weird gauze taped to their ear. I can't recall the show that I did that, just making fun of how stupid this was. But that's when I knew the cult members were full Jim Jones time. It was full on Heaven's Gate. Like, people would castrate themselves and commit suicide in unison just for their cult leader, because that is when it just got super silly to me. But I digress. Getting back to the Charlie Kirk, and more specifically the Erika Kirk, Tammy Faye connection here. Excuse me. It just became so silly to me. But I want to draw some parallels here, because most people have sacred cows in their barn. Everybody on the right and everybody in the quote-unquote alternative media, and if you're listening to me now, you have assuredly heard what I think of the quote-unquote alternative media. That's about as alternative as CNN right about now. It's clearly people getting funding. It ain't just the 7,000. It's comical. Anyone that views the alternative media as alternative, I liken that to the quote-unquote alternative rock of the 90s. Yeah, it's so alternative. You got every band looking the same, sounding the same, on major labels that are millionaires, traveling first class, staying in 4-star hotels, but it's alternative, right? Just as alternative as that bull butter. But the problem is that there's so many sacred cows out there that people are afraid to touch. And we've been brainwashed to believe that questioning anything is somehow disrespectful and blasphemous and anti-Christian and anti-conservative and whatever else these buffoons want to paint you into this corner. It's the corner of not questioning anything, because you might hurt somebody's feelings. Does this sound familiar to anyone, folks? Because it should. It's just as idiotic as the left with their feelings getting hurt. You hurt my feelings. You called me fat and I'm obese. Feelings. It's the same bull butter, folks, just a different flavor. So they've convinced the vast majority of the American people that you can't question stuff. See, if you question 9/11, you're somehow disrespecting the people that died in 9/11. And if you question World War I or World War II or Vietnam, because they were all predicated on false flags, we lost probably millions of American lives for no blipping reason, if you count them all up, Korea included, and dance all the way through Gulf War I, Gulf War II, whatever we're doing there now too. It's all the same flavor of malarkey. But you see, they've convinced the general public that it's bad to question things, because if you question all these false flag predicated wars, then you're somehow disrespecting the military. Or you're disrespecting my grandpappy and he was, no, folks, that's dumb. That is retarded. What you're questioning is the fact that we shouldn't be sacrificing Americans in bankers' wars that have zero to do with us. Bing, bing, bing. Was that ringing bells for anybody? So it's not disrespectful to say that we should not be urinating away American lives in foreign nations that have zero to do with us. I know somebody's going, but we've been doing that in the Middle East for like 30 years. I know. Isn't it insane? Insane? Like, we were out of Vietnam for what? Maybe like 4 years before we started moving into the Middle East. And before we created Al-Qaeda. But don't worry, because it's disrespectful to question. And the real linchpin in this, the real taking the cake of all this, was Sandy Hook. Oh, no, you can't say that, John. Yeah, that was the real linchpin in this. Because Sandy Hook was the event that really caused a stir. And that was the event that they used as the catalyst to go after anyone in alternative media that would dare to question the sacrosanct narrative of Sandy Hook. Which, if you have not looked into it, it looks about as phony as a $3 bill. I'm sorry. It looks about as phony as the Charlie Kirk and the Erika Kirk and all the baloney bull butter that we've seen just thrown down the hill in a big avalanche of turds. Just about as real, folks. Just about. So the deal is they've castigated and chastised everyone that dared to question at the very least. I mean, bleep sakes, many people got sued and taken off of platforms and everything else for just asking some questions, you know? Like, hey, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5, does it? Oh, my gracious goodness, you're a heretic. We're going to have to put you behind the barn and give you a good what for. You know? Like, what the? Ridiculous, folks. Ridiculous. So, I'm going to boldly go where very few have gone before and question the narrative here. What a blipping surprise, you know? And the real funny thing is, the very few people that are actually questioning this narrative, and I'll take that back. The people that have like a large audience, a super huge audience, that are really questioning this narrative are persona non grata, you know, oh my gosh, I mean, this might as well be Hitler riding through Jerusalem backwards on a donkey while sacrificing whatever the bleep is in Canada. They're sacrificing an ostrich or something, you know. Good night. You are the most worthless person alive if you question this. So there's only about 2 or 3 people doing that, and that'd be Candace Owens and Stu Peters. And I'm not saying I'm in line with everything either of those camps have to say, but I am saying kudos to you all for actually questioning this nonsense. Everyone else seems to be like, well, we know it wasn't the Jews. That's all we can say. We think it was this guy. Like, nothing in the narrative lines up, but we think it was this one guy, you know. We think it was Lee Harvey the third, or whatever it is. Okay, folks, I will reel it in and actually focus on the topic at hand. Because someone's going, but John, how in the world is Erika Kirk? Yeah, she's America's darling. How could she possibly be the new face of Tammy Faye Bakker? I mean, when I first saw this mess, I don't know how long this has been going on. Like, we're well over a month since Charlie was assassinated. Don't even get me started on the inaccuracies of I'm not gonna do it. No, I refuse to just go through the rabbit hole of how completely fabricated this all is. So we'll just stick to what I wanted to talk about. Erika Kirk being the new Tammy Faye Bakker. Okay, so I can't recall exactly how many days it was since this individual was allegedly murdered, assassinated, offed, killed, what have you. I don't believe it was a week, folks. I don't believe this was a week. And somehow, in the span of, we'll give it a full week. We'll just say a week. It wasn't, but we'll say a week. In the span of a week, and if you look at this mess, man, it stinks to high heaven. Because this venue was already rented out in Arizona. So in the span of a week, we have somehow managed to secure this large venue. We've got all these speakers in place. Somebody figured out all the flights, all the hotels. Somebody figured out all the lighting, all the sound, all the optics for the background. someone wrote all the speeches. I'm assuming it was all those individuals that did the speaking. Okay, great. But I'm saying all this got put together in a span of about a week. Makes perfect sense. And what, you might ask, dear John, got put together? I mean, I would see this on par with a WWE event. I'm old school, so I want to say WWF, but WWF did not put out events like this. WWE did when it was like a multi-billion-dollar corporation and traded on the stock market. That's when they really went super high-tech and put out events like what you saw there in Arizona. And I don't even know what you would call this. It wasn't a memorial. It was more like a fundraiser, because we've already gone over the oddities with the monies and everything else. And, you know, that just stunk. And then you saw, well, I got to back up a minute, because before that, you saw this really twisted montage of Erika holding the hands of Charlie Kirk. I'm just alleging this is real. I don't know that it is. Allegedly holding the hands of Charlie Kirk and bemoaning his death and all this. And all this was filmed and put out on social media. Again, things the normal person wouldn't do if their spouse just died. I'm just saying. I know somebody's going to hit me off. Everybody grieves differently, and some people go hang gliding after their spouse dies. Some people immediately go out and bang a hooker. I mean, you know, somebody's going to say, oh, well, it's just the unique grieving process of Erika Kirk. Okay, sure. I'll make no connections to the Jews. I'll make no connections to the... to whatever you want to call that she was in charge of in Europe, some sort of adoption center when she was 18, because that's totally normal. I mean, all 18-year-olds have that going on. I will make no connections to her being an actress, her involvement with Trump before any of this, her most likely getting introduced to Charlie by Trump, the likelihood that she is a honeypot, just like Kash Patel's significant whatever. I'll make no connections to any of that. I'll just say that looked fishy as all fishy can be. Because we all saw the rollout of the hands thing first, which was really weird. And then it just got progressively more insane with the first not memorial event that went on in Arizona. And, pardon me, and I think we're up to like the third different ridiculously not memorial event for Charlie Kirk. Because I know that she's been involved in 3, and I know that because we've seen this same fake Tammy Faye Bakker crying fiasco at every stinking one of them. Okay? Oh, man, my throat does this weird thing. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be weird here. So we've seen that weird Tammy Faye thing at every single one of them, folks. And I don't know if the American people don't have discernment. I don't know if the American people did not live through the 80s. Like, is this the fact that most people that are commenting on this, and I guess are quote-unquote content creators and influencers, that they're just not from Gen X, so they don't know anything about Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker? Is that it, folks? Here's another point I'll draw this, because it's so hilarious. I'll just put this on the screen again. I got to, folks. I got to put this on the screen again. Because you have to really appreciate how really weird this is, man. There we go. I'm putting it on the screen for you. So the obvious connections are fairly blipping obvious, I'd say. So clearly, Tammy Faye Bakker on the left is older. She's longer in the tooth, a little bit more miles on the odometer. And I'm not throwing shade at the deceased Tammy Faye Bakker. She might have been a lovely person. I don't know, folks. She was an actor too, okay? And anybody of the Gen X knows Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. Anyone knows Heritage USA, kind of like Turning Point USA, the PTL ministry. Okay? This was out of Fort Mills, South Carolina, basically right over the border from Charlotte, North Carolina. See, I know all about this because I am from the old North State, folks. This was down the street. Come on. But the vast majority of the American public, at least those of Gen X, should know all this, folks, because you all went through cable at the time and what was it, like TBN and Robert Tilden and all this melange of these televangelists. If you've never seen, this is a great Chevy Chase movie. It's Fletch 2. You should watch Fletch 2 because Fletch 2 is exactly what this was all like, folks. Heritage USA was a big amusement park in Fort Mills, South Carolina. It was like the Jesus amusement park. And Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker, there's so many other people. I can't even remember all these people's names, like Oral Roberts, and man, I'm missing so much here. Jessica Hahn was involved. It really got so dark, folks. Bottom line, it involved a whole lot of money being stolen. They finally shut down Heritage USA. It was a big abandoned, like multi-acre site in Fort Mills for at least over a decade. I kept wanting to go there just to check it out and look into it because it looked creepy and weird. But I mean, we're talking like multi-million-dollar stuff, a legit amusement park with hotels, sound stages, the whole 9 yards. A lot like Turning Point USA, except it was Heritage USA. And when all this broke down, you had, pun intended, broke down, because you had Tammy Faye Bakker all over the place crying, just like this. With the rings, with the ridiculous makeup, with the ridiculous eyelashes, with all the hallmarks of what we're seeing now with Erika Kirk. And I'm the only jackwagon that I guess has the temerity to come out and say it. It looks like a con, a hustle, a dodge, and a scam, folks. My goodness gracious sakes alive. Do I have to go through all of it? The plane that just happened to leave that area of Utah and just drop off the scope, meaning they dropped off radar. And now it's finally coming out that, yes, there was an Egyptian flight involved in all this. There was most likely, who can we say the J word, assassins involved in all this. And I know Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes and everybody else. What do you mean there's Jewish involvement? What are you talking about? This is crazy. Of course it's crazy. I mean, good night, nurse. Charlie only came out and said that like a week or so before he died. Like, hey, if I turn on the greatest ally camp, they might just well kill me. I mean, I said it from the jump, and I'm going to keep on saying it. This whole thing looks about as phony as a $3 bill. This has honeypot written all over it. This has scam written all over it. This has illegitimacy written all over it. I'm not saying the men's not dead, but I'm saying everything involving Erika and Charlie and the alleged kids that are theirs looks about as phony as a $3 bill. This thing stinks like a fish market, folks. Yeah, I'm at the coastal plain of the old North State. I've been at a fish market or two in my day, and it stinks just like this. Stinks. I still got, and I know somebody's going to say, well, they just didn't want the photographs of the children. I don't think anyone has a photograph of the children. That's just it, folks. I mean, there's probably more photographs of Bigfoot than the alleged children of Erika and Charlie Kirk. And I know somebody's, well, they just wanted the privacy and the safety of the children. Okay, well, I mean, Jesus Christ, folks. They ain't the first celebrity political couple to ever exist, right? I mean, we know that Barry Soetoro and Big Mike, their whole relationship's a scam, a hustle, a dodge, and a con. Good night, nurse. If anybody doesn't think for a moment that Big Mike is like the biggest beard of all time, if you don't know that, then I got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you, all right? Please. If anyone believes that those two offspring are the legitimate offspring of Barry Soetoro and Mike Obama, oh my gosh, folks. But I draw those comparisons because, they were a celebrity couple, perhaps far greater of political celebrity, at least of the ilk of the lowbrow status left. And their kids were filmed all over the place, You look at the Kennedy kids. They were filmed, right there at the funeral of Jack Kennedy. But somehow we have more footage of Bigfoot than we do of the two Kirk children. I'm not saying it's evidence of something. I'm just saying it's distinctly odd. Very, to be specific, very odd. And we've all seen the video where it looks like the kids don't even know who the bleep's trying to give them a hug. It's like Charlie and some child, and it looks like the kid's going, who the bleep is this guy, It does not look like a normal, hey, Dad. No, I don't think so. Other irons in the fire, John? You've got more ammunition? Gracious goodness sakes alive. I've got more ammunition than I can shoot. And I got called out on this one a couple weeks back because I dared to mention on the show the awkward at best embrace between J.D. Vance, at least that's what he's calling himself these days, and Erika Kirk. I think this was on the stage of event number 2 because that's what grieving widows do, right? Yeah, your spouse dies, and you know what you do? Well, you jump on a plane and a bus and a train, and you go to, fro, and everywhere you can go to drum up support and get some money, I guess. It doesn't seem an awful lot like grieving to me. It just seems bizarre. But anyway, I digress. I got called out because, oh my goodness, John, how could you dare say that Erika did anything of improprietous nature? She just, grabbed old JD by the nape of the neck there, and there was a very awkward embrace where it seemed to be his hands were about her waist and her hands were about his back, and that just didn't look right to me. Call me crazy. Call me old-fashioned. I am old-fashioned because I can tell you what, as a married man myself, if my wife saw me doing any of that, there'd be a problem. And if I saw my wife doing any of that, there'd be a problem. There'd be we got a problem, Houston, and it's a big one. It's just going to be more than talking. There's going to be some stuff. There's going to be some working this out. Okay? And the people that were trying to say, oh, well, they just froze that frame out of context. I'm like, yo. There shouldn't have been a frame to freeze in any context. At no point in any embrace should there have been any hands anywhere, except maybe a little patty pat. One of them little ha-ha hugs. That's it. Shouldn't have been any, oh, let me run my hands through your hair, Vance. Oh, my goodness. Ugh. Yucky. So the whole thing stinks at best. In my humble opinion, stinks of a honey trap. That's my thought on the whole thing. Maybe I'm just crazy. That's what it seems to me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's a good explanation for all this, and I'm just missing the mark because I'm hyperbolic and stepping out of line in the orthodoxy of the conservative cult because, what's good for the goose is never good for the gander, the conservative cult gets to criticize all these feelings on the left, but not the feelings on the right. Just doesn't add up, folks. It stinks. Doesn't add up at all. And the fake crying really seems to be the most egregious of the obvious because it looks very emblematic of Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. Tammy Faye specifically. I mean, gracious goodness, folks. I could do that stupid thing, and I don't even like this kind of crap, but where you overlay the faces. Oh, look how similar this is. Oh, look, they've got the same little spotted mole on their cheek. No, I ain't going there. But I am saying this looks like some great acting. Looks like somebody pulled her aside and said, hey, take a look at some Tammy Faye Bakker from the mid to late 80s. You're going to love this. This is what I want you to do, Erika. I want you to go out there and do your best imitation of old Tammy Faye Bakker. It stinks, folks. You can call me all the names in the world and say I'm out of line, but I'm very much in line to say this thing stinks. It stinks. It stinks. Oh, my. The sad thing is, the whole thing stinks, and it looks like Stu Peters and Candace Owens are the only two people actually of any real audience that's like going, hey, anybody see this? We got like a flag on the field, and they're just continuing to run the plays. It's like, what the? Did anybody see like the 4 or 5 flags that have been thrown all over the field, and yet, like the marching band's coming out, they're doing the halftime show, the whole 9 yards, and you're just kind of looking at this like, did nobody have the balls to talk about this or what? Because, I mean, this thing is as joke level as joke level can be. But they've got their patsy lined up. They've already given all the pablum to the cult members on the right. And, they already know what's up, folks. And I think you do too. Whether this guy is or isn't even a real person, he'll get framed for it. He'll probably go to jail or get executed for it, whatever, if this person's even real. And this, like I said, I believe last show, this will go down in the annals of history, much like all the other false flags and fishy scenarios and assassinations always do. Like most of the boomers that have a brain cell are always going to point to the JFK, RFK, MLK, Malcolm X, John Lennon, and on and on and on, and go, you know what? I don't know what exactly was wrong with all those assassinations, but they looked fishy to me, I tell you. Just a little bit outside. You know what I'm saying? And this will be just like that. It'll be just more of the same. So, in 20, 30 years, if I'm still around, that'll be the talk du jour. Do you know a lot of people say in the history books that this wasn't a real thing? I don't know, folks. I see this whole thing as just a big psyop. Now that this all has occurred, Turning Point USA can about face and shift directly into the open arms of our greatest ally. Maybe they get some money from Miriam Adelson, much like old Trump, baby. You think so? Probably. Because after all, if things happen as they supposedly happen, I suppose, then Charlie's no longer in the picture. And now we got Erika at the helm, and she was a multimillionaire going into it. Now she's even a multimillionaire, and you got the deep state connections to her dad and her mammy too. My gracious goodness, there are so many things wrong with this picture. But that's okay. I mean, we're just supposed to buy into it. That's what we do. We're American chump sucker morons, and we're just supposed to say, okay, you say so. You said it was Lee Harvey Oswald. Mm-hmm. You said it was them terrorists and some guy in some pajamas in a cave that blew up them buildings. Hmm? Yes, sir. Yes, that's what happened. I'll tell you what. That's what the news told me. And as long as it comes from the Fox News, I believe it. If it comes from the CNN, I ain't believing it. Good grief, folks. Like, people forgot the church committee hearings. People forgot in, 1974 that Operation Mockingbird was unveiled. People forgot that Barry Soetoro once again legalized Operation Mockingbird as if it needed a legalization, because the government doesn't give a rat's back about you, and they're going to do exactly what the bleep they want to do to you, folks. If you think they care about you, you must be a low-grade moron. I got to be real. I got no words on that one. All right, so we got other things to discuss that ain't just Erika Kirk taking the mantle of the great Tammy Faye Bakker. We got other fish to fry because we got to talk about the humiliation ritual of this whole thing. And I've discussed the essence of the humiliation rituals in the past because there are many. We can look at them through multiple different lenses, angles, and so forth here. But the humiliation rituals are very integral to this whole thing. And anyone that's even remotely looked into this, they kind of know the bread and butter of the humiliation ritual. I think most notably in the last 10 years, you've had folks, I will say others have done it too, but Cat Williams has kind of been at the forefront of exposing the humiliation rituals going on within black culture here in America. The humiliation ritual, quite obviously, that any black man that wants to rise to any notoriety in the pedo wood scene has to show up in a dress. It's a humiliation ritual. It's breaking the individual. It's mounting the individual. If you want to look back at old shows I did like 3 years ago, I think I discussed this. I think it was literally called mounting, because that's what it is. It's a humiliation ritual, and it's mounting an individual. It's exactly like what you might see with dogs asserting dominance in a pack. You see this very aptly in primates, especially the larger primates. I'm talking about the gorillas and the chimps here. You're seeing just dominant displays. You see this in some of the lesser, and they're not lesser, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're not apes, like the baboons. So baboons, being large old world monkeys, they also do dominance rituals. They also mount subordinate members of the group. So it starts out with an eyelid flash. They do this weird blinking thing, and the other subordinate primates know, oh, jeepers. He's about to open up a can, you know what I mean? And there's also baring the canines. That's another indicator of dominance over submissive in the primate world. But the real thing that is true of all is mounting. So they will have dominant males quite literally mount subordinate females, but also, and perhaps much more important, subordinate males. So he is showing them who's boss by, I think you know what I'm saying here. So we see this in the primate world, and we see this in the human world. And it's not just wearing a dress for many black male celebrities. It's also, I think we all know what's going on, and what I'm trying to say politely without coming out and making this like an NC-17 version of the show. But anything that's been exposed, pun intended, in the Diddy trial with all this baby lotion and videotapes and men doing things to other men. Yeah, that's exactly what this whole ritual's about, folks. It's about showing dominance and submission. But more importantly, it's about showing that in humans, in the world of pedo world, Hollywood. So, I mean, that's what all this Me Too mess is about. That's what all this Jeffrey Epstein mess is about. It's dominance and submission. I mean, there's other eccentricities of this. If you want to look at the Epstein stuff, he was clearly trying to do like self-cloning and create his own master race army of freaks, I guess. It was about rape. It was about power and submission. It was about dominance. It was about blackmail. So, I mean, it's not just that one element, but I do believe that is perhaps the most important element of it, because especially if you can get people to do this willingly, that's kind of the key. I mean, everyone wants to really play into the rape angle, and that's a very big one, especially when we're talking about the child rape and the child trafficking and the missing children and all this stuff. That's a very key element of it. But more to the point, in Hollywood, in these circles of the quote-unquote elite, the real deal is submission, is getting people to willingly go along with being raped, with being anally, So that's really what the big deal is. It's getting people to willingly do it. Just as with the COVID hoax, the big crux of that was getting people to willingly kill themselves with a vaccine, to willingly go through the Flowers for Algernon, I'm a brain dead moron display of walking in a line and 6 feet apart and going through all the pomp and circumstance of stupidity. It was all about getting the individuals to willingly do it. I mean, I've talked about this so much, but that's the key, folks. That's why you got the serial killers and that same sort of psychopathy, where, it'd be one thing if Ted Bundy just bashed some girl's head in with a piece of firewood. That wasn't it. The real deal was, can I coerce this girl to get in the car with me? Can I coerce this girl to go back to my place? Can I coerce this girl to do this? So it kind of transcends just let's bash this girl in the head with a shovel. And the same thing with Gacy, and the same thing with BTK, and the same thing with virtually all these serial killers. It was not just the act of violence. It was the act of submission. getting people to willingly get in the car, getting people, John Wayne Gacy, to willingly come back to his house. Let's talk about a job, we could do. It's all the same. BTK killers, same thing, same MO, folks. That's the psychopathy of it. So it's not just let's bash the girl's head in. Let's get her to coerce her into going along with it. Yeah, that's it. So you're seeing that same sort of psychopathy played out with these humiliation rituals. And I'll go one more, because I do believe that what you're seeing with Erika Kirk and what you've seen with all these other false flags, the Sandy Hook, the Aurora shooting, all these different false flag shootings that you've seen over the years, anyone that's looked into this knows the body language cues that have been so obvious throughout this whole thing. They know the similarities or the exact same people showing up for these whole things. I mean, Christ's sakes, you saw that with the Patsy #1, the old weird guy showing up at the Charlie Kirk shooting thing. Oh, did it shoot me? Yeah, he'd only been to the other, 5 other false flags too. I mean, what the bleep? Do you get like a frequent flyer card for false flags? You just get to show up at anything and everything you want? But my point is, there's an element called duper's delight. And it goes into the psychopathy, and it goes into this this inability to maintain your character, to maintain your war face, so to speak. Because you'll see these really kind of smiles, smirks, and weird laughs at very inappropriate times with all these different false flags, with all these different people that they have on camera. I mean, you definitely saw that with the Sandy Hook false flag, and you saw that with the Aurora, and you saw that with the 9/11, you saw it with so much of this stuff, folks, all of it. I can hardly think of one where you haven't seen someone involved in the incident interviewed, and then they just start kind of smiling awkwardly, and you're going, what the freak? People just allegedly died here, and you got some person just kind of smirking off camera and laughing. I think this should be prima facie for anyone, but for me personally, and I would hope I'm speaking the same to most of you out there, if my spouse died, I wouldn't be laughing at any time, for any reason, for a long time, folks. That's not how I would react. I'm talking about just died of natural causes. I sure as bleep wouldn't be laughing, smirking, sneering, or anything else if that person was shot on live TV in a very gruesome fashion. It's so bizarre, but it really plays into this notion of the duper's delight. That's what I'm talking about here, folks. So running the tape back here, how is all this fitting into the humiliation ritual narrative? Because it's my humble opinion, folks, that when the proverbial they pull these various false flags, part of it really is a humiliation ritual for the masses. I mean, we've had numerous people come out and connect the dots. I've done it myself on this show, saying that it is trauma-based mind control. It is an occult ritual sacrifice. And if you see this, played out over time with the various wars. If you look at World War I, oh, it was the Great War. We're never doing that again. Look at World War II. Oh, okay, another false flag. I guess we're back. Woodrow Wilson time. Yoo-hoo. I'm sorry. Woodrow was World War I, and it was Roosevelt for World War II. My mistake. But bottom line is, all these things coincide as ritual sacrifices. That's really what's going on here. It's a ritual sacrifice. And it's trauma-based mind control. I would say that trauma-based mind control really went into warp speed with the Vietnam War. That's when you really saw the trauma really unfolded on national TV, 8 days a week and twice on Sunday. You saw the clearly damaged people coming back. I mean, it was a nightmare. I can only imagine. I wasn't there. I was not alive when Vietnam ended. But everything I've researched about this says, yep, trauma-based mind control. And it's the same thing with 9/11, and it's the same thing with most of these other low-level or high-level false flags. The point is to traumatize the American public. That's why everybody sat there for weeks on end and kept seeing the blipping planes flying into buildings over and 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 over. People jumping out of buildings over and over and over. It's trauma-based mind control, folks. If you've never seen nor read Clockwork Orange, you might want to look into it. That whole thing is about trauma-based mind control. But the other side of that coin is a humiliation ritual. Because if the proverbial they can convince the American people to go along with a clearly fabricated narrative, it is a humiliation ritual, folks. Plain and simple. So if they can convince you to believe absurdities, they can convince you to commit atrocities, as the old saying goes. But convincing the American public to believe absurdities is a humiliation ritual. It's not quite like the black guy that's an actor on a show or on a movie. Well, just wear this dress. Okay. It's not quite like the various rappers that Diddley D had in his stable of rappers that he just never released their material, never did jack, but he always kept them baited with, yeah, yo, come back here, I got some baby oil for you. Yeah, you might have to bend over a little bit. And you know what I mean? It's not quite like Ted Bundy convincing the girl to help him into the VW with his groceries. All these are humiliation rituals, folks. If they can convince you of this nonsense and get the general public to buy into it, they are punking millions of people. That's really what's up. It's a grand humiliation ritual. And anybody that's really seen the cult of celebrity, I think you know that most of the cult of celebrity is about a humiliation ritual. It's obvious, folks. I mean, I think the Me Too movement was vastly a sham. And I think the fall guy for that was, like one of many, 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 many. So it's not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I'm like, I can't believe you think that's the only one. Like, it's like the Jeffrey Epstein list. I can't believe you morons are just not rioting in the streets and going marching with pitchforks to say, release the God blame list, But, I mean, that's really what's up. It's just various degrees of humiliation. But I've seen this a lot with the cult of celebrity in the last few years. And then as I've seen this exposed, pun intended, from what I'm about to say, I look back at other celebrities and you kind of see the same jive turkey mess. So you had Jennifer Lopez. I think she's like 56 years old. This was, I think, last month. She was 56 years old. She's out there in some thong bikini. I mean, it wasn't a bikini, but it was basically some sort of thong negligee out there shaking her assets. And it was just sad, man. Sad. But then I look back at when I was an adolescent and you had Cher out there doing the same mess, probably in the same age at the time. You had Cher out there way beyond her peak and prime and everything else, but she was out there, if I could turn back time, I'm going to show you my rear. And you just kind of look back and think, what the Freaky Friday is going on here? But that wasn't even all of it, man. You got so much more. I think it was about the same time with this J-Lo mess, you had Nelly Furtado coming out there. Nelly Furtado, again, probably about my age. Clearly not in the best of shape. Clearly now an obese person. And for some unknown reason, they had her out there shaking her money baker. And she was upset at all the bad press she was getting and all the mean comments and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, this is a humiliation ritual, folks. You got to know that, right? Because these are alleged, right? Alleged celebrities. Alleged multimillionaires. Allegedly people that have screw you money. Allegedly, right? So you got to ask yourself, if that's the case, why? Would you be going out there doing something that you know you're going to look like a jackwagon doing? Is it the sort of thing where they've already killed a family member or two and you got nothing else to give? So they just said, okay, Nelly Furtado, we're going to get you to go out there and, wear this scantily clad outfit even though you're about 100 and some pounds overweight. It's going to be your humiliation ritual, girl. Get out there. Hey, yo, J-Lo. I know you're in your 50s. I ain't saying you look bad. I'm just saying she's one of those cats that's like, yo, I don't care how good or bad she looks. Your attitude gets in the door like 5 minutes before you. And nobody wants to deal with that bull jive. Nobody. Sorry. There's a reason she's got multiple divorces and everything else, because nobody wants to deal with that BS, man. If any of those relationships were ever real in the first place. And then you could go down the male version of this too. Everybody's seen those horrendous Motley Crue shows where Vince Neil looks god awful, and he's out there just, I don't even think he's lip singing. I think he's just kind of muttering into the microphone. If anyone's paying for that, the same people that are paying for that are paying for the David Lee Roth mess. You've seen the same thing as me, him out there in some sort of solo version of himself. It's like the backup band is doing all the heavy lifting, and Dave's just kind of out there making a Rudy Poo of himself, you know. What was another one? There was another older cat. Oh, man, I'm going to mess this guy up. Man, I can't even think of his name. I've already covered him on this show before, but it's probably better I don't mention it. It's fine. It's one of those golden oldies kind of hit parade cats from the 60s. This dude looks like he's more senile than Biden, and he's out there holding a microphone to back up people doing all kinds of backing up. He's just barely even cognizant of It's sad, folks, but it's a humiliation ritual. Cold, sad, simple. That's what it is, man. And I would submit to you that this whole shimmy sham that you're seeing with Erika Kirk and these false flags that you've all witnessed over the years, the COVID hoax, all this jive turkey mess is a humiliation ritual. You could put a lot of different titles on it. Is it a psyop? Is it an op? Obviously. But it's also a humiliation ritual. It's also trauma-based mind control. I mean, we're so desensitized as a public. Nobody even really talked about the fact that this shooting, this alleged event that occurred with Charlie Kirk, I mean, this was all over social media for weeks. I know it was all over social media for days before it was even discussed of, hey, maybe we should probably blur out some of this. I mean, you think we should probably blur some of this out? I mean, trauma-based mind control, folks. They just ratchet it up. They moved that Overton window a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And they know the American people are just, they become desensitized to it. It's a great song by Slapshot called Desensitized. It's exactly what's going on. You become desensitized to this drug, this dopamine drip in this form and fashion. So we've moved the Overton window a little further, and we've shown you a little bit more debauchery, a little bit more violence, a little bit more scandal. I mean, our grandparents would just retch at the thought of even seeing this kind of crud, folks. And now it's like, oh, I got this. Let's take a look at this shooting for the 100th time. You know, like, it's sick. It's twisted. It's a psychological warfare operation, and it is absolutely a humiliation ritual. Because they've got most of the populace to buy into the sham. Just like the TV evangelist in the 80s. It was a great song by Suicidal Tendencies called Send Me Your Money. That's what it was all about, folks. This was commonplace at one time. This same sort of op, this same sort of bad acting, this same sort of, it was commonplace. Everybody Gen X saw this mess, which is why they should have seen this mess for what it was at this point in the game. But the problem is people get caught up in their feelings. They get caught up in what I've talked about on this show many times before, that parasocial relationship. People identify with their icons. They identify with their idols. And they say, that guy, you know, he's saying what everybody should be. He's saying what I want to say. Never mind that this is a character. Never mind that this chick is an actress. They identify with the actor and actress. The same way that everybody, oh man, I love the Andy Griffith Show. Andy's such a great. That ain't Andy Griffith on the dang show. That's Sheriff Andy Taylor. Okay? He may or may not be like that in real life. He's deceased now, but I'm saying, like, people expect whatever character, whatever incarnation, version, or otherwise of the person that they fall for, because that's what it's all about. What it's really all about with movies, television, and radio, if you want to look at like 100 years ago, is this notion of suspended disbelief. Can we get the American people to suspend their disbelief, to stop disbelieving what they're seeing and just buy into the op, buy into the television show, buy into the movie, buy into the radio show from 1940 or what have you, buy into it? Can we get them to say, oh man, this is real, man, I can't wait to go to Mayberry and hang out with Andy, or more 90s. I can't wait to go to New York and meet the people on Friends or freaking Sex in the City or whatever this crass crap was that they kept moving the Overton window and going from a wholesome show like the Andy Griffith Show to Sex in the City some 50 blipping years later. That shows you the movement of the Overton window. That shows you the movement of the needle. But the thing is, the suspended disbelief, the getting people to buy into characters and believe that those characters are who they say they are, that parasocial relationship. Oh man, I've got Andy likes me. I saw him wave at me that time. Oh yeah, I saw the girl from Dawson's Creek downtown. Yeah, I think she knows who I am. It's that same sort of sick psychopathy that creates stalkers, that creates nutcase serial killers. Because the stalker lives in this bizarre parasocial relationship where they believe that the checkout girl at the grocery store likes them because she says, hey, how you doing, when he goes in there and buys something. Oh man, every time I go in there, yeah, she asks how I'm doing. It's the same stupidity of people that think strippers like them, that think waitresses like them. Oh man, that stripper likes me. No, they like your money, you idiot. The character they portray in the strip club is probably not that person in real life, folks. They're trying to con you out of money. Does that not ring true to you in that situation, and you can't draw the same parallels to this situation? They're trying to convince you of something. They're trying to con you out of money. They're trying to convince you to go along with bull butter. Man, it's darn near exhausting, I tell you. Exhausting. So, I say all that to say this. Be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of con men and con women everywhere. They're more omnipresent now than ever. It's not just the Nigerian email scam. It's not just for 25 cents a day, you can change the life of this African child. It's not just those con jobs of yesteryear. The cons have gotten better. There's AI now. That's why I said that this boob that allegedly shot the Charlie Kirk character, I don't even know if he's a real person. That's how good AI is, folks. All of our technology that we know about is probably at least 50 years ahead of what we know about. Because virtually everything, pun intended on the virtually, that's rolled out to us is all old tech from the military-industrial complex. That's why the GPS was rolled out in the 90s when the patent expired under Clinton, and everybody went, oh my goodness, I can't believe I can get this GPS and put it in my car. Remember the old school GPS? Looked like a little weird tiny TV screen or something. That was old tech, folks. Old tech. My goodness. Anyway, you can't do everything, but you can do something. Be safe out there. Watch your own back, because nobody's going to watch it for you. Be safe out there, and I will be seeing you sooner than later in the anomic age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.
Thank you.